My name is Danielle. I'm a Sag with a Sag rising and a Cancer moon. Like that probably says more about me than a lot of things. I'm a lot of energy and all the feels. I have no earth, so structure is Briar. Thank God for her, because otherwise I'd be like, I don't know, there's 12 things going. I grew up in the publishing industry. I'm a writer and artist. I was a psychic medium for 20 years by referral only. I still do that. It's not on my social media, so people don't know that about me. I am a Reiki master, a certified Doreen Virtue ATP angel therapy practitioner. Even though that program is gone, it was amazing studying with her. She was an amazing woman.
I'm sorry. Every time I hear about Doreen, man, I know a lot of Christians who come and find crystals. I do not know many witches who then go decide that Jesus is the way and the light. Jesus is a great guy. I'm down with Jesus.
It was a big switch for students. I mean, we were students for years. I was students from like 90s. I mean, I out of high school, I think. And I went to a lot of her and yeah, it was surprising. I still use some of her decks. Some of them seem to be decharged, some are not. I'm finding that worldwide with people. Let's see. I started doing card readings when I was about 13 in a horse trailer because I grew up on a farm where there was nothing to learn. So I set up my first altar in a horse trailer. No one actually knows that. Nah, they do. And then I'm also
suits you though.
Does. I'm very horsey, outdoorsy, a Sag, half horse. And I'm a shaman and I don't do that publicly. So, but I can speak about my experience of it, but I don't offer it up. Oh, and I love making money. I should add this to this, is that one of the reasons I want to do this is because I feel like blending your spiritual practices and your businesses has to happen, or you are kind of doomed to fail. It will either, like, because we're so good at casting that energy, right, you cast it with a flaw. So that's who I am. And people call me Dani.
And your human design is?
Manifestor creator.
Generator. It's
generator.
Generator. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm really good at, like, I think I'll make $10,000 today. There it is. Like, but the harder I try, the harder it gets.
Okay. I guess it's my turn now. You're gonna make me go.
It's your turn.
Fine. Go. All right. So I am Briar Harvey. My magical history is very, very interesting. When I was 3 years old, maybe 4, this is amongst my first memories, my nanny pulled me onto her lap and pulled the big family Bible up with us, opened it up, and started reading stories from the marginalia. Not, the normal Bible stories, the marginalia Bible stories. So my nanny died when I was, I think, 6 or 7 years old. And I had a few years, we would go over to their house every Sunday for dinner. And she taught me plants and she taught me cards and my lineage. So I grew up believing I was very, very Italian. My DNA test says otherwise. My DNA test says that Nanny was in fact indigenous to Argentina. And no one ever said. I was always told that the family came over to the United States from Italy. But apparently they stopped in Argentina for a couple of decades to rape the natives, and then they came here.
Oh.
So I don't actually know where my magic comes from. And when I was older and tried to acquire the family Bible, somehow it was missing. So Yeah, it's a real
Interesting.
great loss for me. And I don't know where the traditions came from. I don't know where the cards I learned came from. I know nothing. So what I know is ancestral and from what I can ask when I have those conversations with my nanny, right? Who is still very much with me and very loud.
Mine too.
Like
Mine
spirit is. Like spirit is. So when I was a teenager, then I decided to go and figure out my tradition myself. And I started with Raven Grimassi because I was Italian, I thought. So that's where I went. And that was, oh, Lord. So yeah, astrology and tarot, and Tessa wants me to tell the story about my dragons. I've told you the story about my dragons, haven't I?
No.
Okay.
I would hear it. I remember that.
This is my card of the year.
Oh, your dragon cards that eat things.
Yes, the dragon cards that eat things. It's the Wheel of Fortune this year, which I every day read in a different light. No?
Right.
Okay.
Wow. That
When,
kind of brings me, yeah.
so I'll tell you. So I have to tell them the story though, the dragon story. When I was, I don't know, I'd just gotten married, just given birth to my first child, and I was given this deck of cards from a friend. And he said, here, I don't read them anymore. And would you like them? And I said, sure. So I put them on my nightstand, where I also had a perfectly nice deck of Rider-Waite cards. 2 weeks later, my young daughter came through and started tearing the cards in half. And ever since then, my dragons have destroyed every other single deck of tarot cards I have ever tried to acquire. So this is my only deck of tarot cards. And I have a husband who needs me, so I'm going to put myself on mute and Dani can entertain everyone for a few minutes.
I will. Okay. So with that in mind, here's my thought. We are talking about wheels and numbers. 2020 is a 4-year, right? So think about it. And if it's a 40 year, it's a 40. Like, what are we going to do with that? Now, we're going to talk today about energies of numbers in the business. And when you know your life number, which is where we're going to start, if you don't know your life number, you have an opportunity to tap into that in a way that really works for you and go with the energy. So we will start on figuring that out. I was just saying how it's interesting because isn't the wheel 20? Is it 20?
12.
12?
Well,
See,
mine is 12. See, my dragons, they're not typical cards. And ever since, like, they don't, this deck does not read reversals. There's no reversals listed in the book. And I have learned to read them very much as an actual conversation. Like, they talk to me and they tell me things, and they're right bussy motherfuckers because they're dragons. But my wheel actually has the zodiac.
Oh, so 12. Well, because I was saying, isn't it interesting while we were about to talk about numbers that the number of this year is 4, which is the emperor, which is stability, which for a lot of people, we wanted to talk about like angel numbers. They kind of know some of those angel numbers, but there's more to it than repeating.
So we theoretically, we didn't today because tech, right? But we're supposed to start at 1111 because we've decided that we'd really like to embrace those numbers in our new joint venture as we move forward. Everything that we sell, if we can, is going to have an angel number. It's just fun. But they're also, so you know more about angel numbers than I do. Let's talk about First, the significant ones, and then we'll talk about how to find yours.
Sure. So, oops, sorry. Oh my goodness, everything. Okay. Ha! I needed to pause there and reset. So here's how I look at them is that you have single digits, double digits, they get stronger as you go through, right? So you're building on the power of the number. So, boy, where to start? I was just saying, like, with me, I know what my life number is. So when I'm closer or further away from my life number in something, it's either it's growing in one direction or the other. So, I can't hear you.
I muted myself. For the record, your life number is the dates in, or all of the numbers added up in your birthday?
Yeah.
Okay.
And a funny story. So for me, that is 25, which is 7. But you take the number. So like if you get 4 and 0, you're a 4-0, but you're a 4, or whatever your number is, it always becomes a single digit. And so with the energy of 2 and 5, which is balance, funnily enough, I'm a person who always has to have, like, the more I grab onto something, like, the worse it gets. So I tend to have 2 things going, 2 different this. I tend to be either jeans and t-shirts or heels and dress, right? Like there's this kind of thing in my life. And when I fought it, it feels like juggling. When you fight 2, it feels like, or you have to choose between this or that. Where you can use a complementary is you can have 2 streams of income, which is right now I have like 2 businesses.
No, Allie. So what you do, if you add up the day and the month and the year. So it's 10 plus 7 plus whatever year you were born, and you separate those out as numbers. So it's 1 plus 0, 10, and then 7 if that's the day. And then I was born in 1980, so it's 1 plus 9 plus 8 plus 0. You add up all of those numbers and then you get the master number, so 1990. So you'd add a 1 and a 9 and a 9 to your 1 and your 7. And that's, I don't know, I'm bad at math. Somebody okay. 18, 19, 27. So you are also a life path 9, Allie.
And what's cool about it is when you kind of realize what your base energy is. So 7 for me, there's 2 in there. I was starting to talk about 2 is the juggling and 5 is creativity. Now, if you think about what comes before 5, 4. 4 is stability, the emperor number. It's the everything is cool, but to grow again, you're actually just kind of adding 1 to 4, right? So you're moving beyond 4 with a 5. So it's an action number again, but very creative. So, but overall, I'm a 7. Is that
and
like
we have 2 9s here with Tessa and Allie. So talk about 9. I have to redo mine every time. So talk about 9 and I'll tell you what mine is in a minute.
So 9 is either a 4 and a 5, a 2 and a 7, a 1 and an 8, right? Is there any other way that 9, 3 and 6?
Yeah.
3 and 6 have really interesting lives. So 9 is that number of almost done. It's the big number of Sagittarius. It is the big forest fire energy. The fall or detriment of 9 can be that you feel like you're never done. And then when you embrace, I am always evolving instead of I am never done, you're in a better place. Like you're trying to hit 10. But when you hit 10, just like in the zodiac cycle, when you come around to Pisces, you're going to start with the Aries again, right? So there's this sense that when you're in 9, there's a lot of energy. It is also like the 9 of Wands is that big energy movement. So depending on if you're a 3-6, right? 3 can be a wobbly number. It can, every number kind of has a.
Tessa, what are you? Do you know? because Allie's a 2-7, and apparently I am also a 2-7. Color me shocked. Shocked.
Oh, and what I was saying is 7 is the card of movement. It's the Rhiannon number. It is the always in evolution, always moving, always going. It can also be like, you know, everything has a slight, like a detriment or an exaltation. So the downside of always going is always improving. Like, you have to embrace the creativity. You embrace the movements. Let's talk, what have we not talked about? One is initiation, beginnings, small fires, I call them. 2 is that balance feeling or a sense of choices. When 2 is in detriment, it can feel like you have no choice because both choices kind of suck, or they're both like you lose something both directions. In the good side is you're like balancing like a seesaw. 3 is that 3-sided stool. It's more stable than 2, but it's also a triangle, which can be very strong as long as the base is on the down part, right? It's pointing towards the sky. And then you have 4 in that emperor energy of stability. It's not a 10 though, in terms of being super stable, in that it's calm, but it's very, that's why it is an angel number, because angels tend to be like here, but they don't necessarily push you, right? So the 4s, that's what we'll talk about, pricing around 4s versus 5s, and 5s being, I've got so many phone calls. It's so funny. Like, it's like we're sending out the energy of this. So
it's amazing.
We've talked about 5. So one
Tessa is a 3-6. So Tessa is a 3-6.
So 6, here's what I was going to say. There's 2 numbers that get no play, which is 6 and 8, which is too bad, because if you're in 6 and 8 energy, you have strengths. Everybody knows the 6 of Swords, right? And they're like, fuck, that's the mental jail card. But 6 is also in the air. Like it's exalted in an air. So it's anything when you're doing logical programs, pricing them in 6 energy is good, right? Like 6 has this very intellectual Aquarius kind of detached energy, or it has the like overthinking. So you can see if you're a 3-6, how you can be incredibly brilliant and connected and community oriented, like all the great things of an Aquarian, or you can be like caught in your mental jail, right? And it's which one you choose, and recognizing like I'm overthinking, or I'm trying to create stability. I'm trying to get to 4, but I'm no longer 2, and I'm this 3 energy can be really interesting. And the other one is 8. I have a family that has a lot of 8 energy. So we have either 1-6, which is 7, or 8. And my grandpa started our business in December 8th, 1938. My parents got married on the 16th of November. My dad was diagnosed with cancer on the 8th. My grandpa was born on the 16th. My other grandpa died on the 16th. My brother's born on the 8th. My other brother's born on the 16th. Like, I bought my first house on the 8th. It goes on. And I was terrified of 8 because we're like, oh, it's a Scorpio number. 8 can be incredibly powerful if you think about it.
Yes, you are, Tessa. You are a creative, brilliant, unstable mess, and we love you for it.
Yes! Does that right there, that's awesome. And that's exactly it, is you use that energy of air. If you're heavy in those air numbers or air signs, like, remember that you're wind. You're not just ephemeral, you're wind, and wind creates canyons and mountains and waves. And so back to the 8 of the Scorpio energy is not just death and endings, it's deep. If you're deep in Scorpio energy, you don't have to say a lot to move people. You don't need to overcomplicate it with all these sales pages with 40 million things. You need to tap into the charismatic energy of what you pull people in with. Scorpios are fascinating.
Oh, you need to tell your story. We were literally just talking about that an hour ago. Tessa needs to tell her story.
to tell her story of
Instead of sales pages, just storytelling.
Yeah, and this is one thing I like to, we're talking about with your numbers, is that because you're going to attract people who are like you. That's just the truth, right? Or who want to be like you. Ultimately, people are going to buy energy. And if your energy is, an outcome, okay, when I say this of like, I don't mean just like, right? Like not just kumbaya around a fire, is that if I want to get organized because I feel like a hot mess, I'm going to get into the energy of organization. Like this is kind of hard to say, but if you want something, you have to want the thing behind the energy, not just the outcomes of it. So I'm not going to buy organization from a Sagittarius, is what I'm trying to say, from myself. I want someone who doesn't make fun of me that I'm not the world's most organized person. I want someone who's like, I get you. This is the fast solution, right?
You want a Virgo rising is apparently what you want. Yes.
Evidently. But not in a sense that I'm ever shamed, right? So when you're selling into the energy of the number and then you price around the number, one, you're infusing the energy, and two, like, it's so important to sell off that energy of your number too. Like I am not a person for people who doesn't like I bounce around, and you either love that and it's entertaining and it's fun, or I talk too much and I talk with my hands. You know what I'm saying? But if I try, you can see on some of my older lives where I'm trying to work off a script and I'm trying to talk into your face. I'm trying to do this. It's creeper. All right. Like if I say we're talking business and money and this is how it flows and here's my energy in it, it's much more appealing and it feels very natural. Like I just talked for 10 minutes on stuff that I love because it's easy and we're all still here. So that's my spiel on the numbers. So let's, pricing wise.
So, well, yes, because you use your number in everything, don't you? You use that 7 all over the place.
I do, and I mean, I'm to the point of I don't ever do examples. If I do bullet points, I do 3, 5, 7. I do odds. I love odds. And that's the thing is odd evens are stable, odds are initiations. So sometimes you think about like, what are we going for? Would you sell a relationship program based on odds or evens? Like, are you more likely to vibe with, I want 444 or $4,000 or twos? I say twos in relationships are nice because you're talking to energy, right? If you're into relationship stuff. Even if you're, you know what I'm saying? Like, or you can base it on all what you put forth. I tend to launch on my number days too.
Okay.
I also have favorite days of the week.
Oh, I definitely have favorite days of the week. And I use, like, in my brain, Wednesday is traditionally Water's Day, right? Like there are elemental cycles for the days of the week. Sunday still happens to be Sunday, right? But Moon Day lost an O. And it just really goes downhill from there unless you know what the translations are. So, but yeah, I absolutely. Now I'll use correspondences for the days of the week and for the elemental day of the week. And I often relate that to my astrological chart and where I'm supposed to be. So I forget, I think it's Cafe Astrology that has red and green days, which are
Mm,
hysterical, but I love them. So red days are your high physical energy days, and
hmm.
green days are your high mental energy days. And at the beginning of the week, I will actually go through and check the numbers and figure out which days I should be doing long project type things and which days I should be, say, cleaning my basement. So,
Yeah, yeah, totally. I'm definitely more in sync too these days to doing things on lunar cycles than I used to be too. And it's interesting while we're all like in this energy of working from home, how the week actually feels more like a week. Because the weekend for me wasn't ever, I had a very weird corporate life where I only worked 2.5 days in the office. So for me, Monday and Tuesday were always work days. And then I worked at another job where then I then had Mondays off. I was like, this makes no sense. What do they feel like? So yeah, there's so much good stuff in all of this. So question about numbers. What else do we, let's see.
let's see. So I also
Wow.
thought that we could just talk really quickly about how to use your numbers in pricing. Next week, when we run the challenge, we're going to be talking about how to find your actual like business numbers, whether that's the number of clients you need or the number of leads you need, the practical numbers. But yeah, so more magical numbers. What else do you do? In pricing,
Well,
because pricing is magic, man. It's always been
yeah.
magic for me. And when I have conversations with clients as we're pricing stuff, they're like, well, how much should I charge for this? I'm like, well, this is my formula, but then we need to get to making that look like a price that will sell.
Well, I think, okay, so like let's talk middle, low, high. So when I price, okay, I'm like, you can feel it when it's off. And that's the magic is if you know why your numbers feel off, that's the number one way to picking the best one. Because is it off because it doesn't fit you? I don't price anything at 444, to be honest. Four is not really my realm. Not that I don't see it, but like I always see the clock at 7:23, which is when I was born. I never see the clock at 444. So once I started noticing that,
638 is one for me.
yeah. Oh, so we were going to talk about bigger angel numbers. So when you go, let's talk combinations. So if you do 444, we love repeating, but that number is actually angels are with you. Does that say buy me? Buy me? Not really.
No.
Right.
No.
And 555 isn't, I've seen that people are moving up to that now. And I was like, that's interesting because
But
you're not going to go to 666, but people don't vibe with it. Yeah, we're not going to 6. In which case, you might be, if you want to price in the energy of 4. Okay, say you want, I want an angel, whatever you start with is where you're going. Security, emperor, and it has a very Reina, Rex kind of, there's a certain amount of not royalty, but reigning. There's responsibility that comes with force too. Remember, everything that you price, like, so some days I don't necessarily think that 4 is a great pricing point because it has a very stable energy. Well, I guess you can pick if you want growth though. So I'm getting off track.
So we go odds, right? Okay.
Right. So
555, 666 we avoid because even though it's not a bad number, it's not actually a bad number, but Christians made it so.
Yeah. If you went to, and the thing about repeating is that repeating numbers are reinforcement numbers, right? So that's cool. But what's the difference between, okay, if you sell something for 111 because I see a lot of people pricing individual sessions. It's a really good number for initiation. So that works there, right? Mm-hmm. There's no reason you can't do it 114.
But no.
Right.
But I don't want to.
Right. But no. You don't want to because it's not a 5. And then there's typical American pricing. We do either price on the 0, 5, or 7, right? Or 9s.
Or 9.
But why do we not
food we price at 8, just so that we're aware that we do that. But yes. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so you don't ever price. There's some preconceived notions here, but we don't want to buy 117 feels like kind of jazzy, right? Because that 7 is in there, and 7 is lucky in a lot of things in cards. So when you start to price in the 2s, you know, like people like 2. Mm-hmm. 2 is a friendly number for a lot of people. 3 does tend to feel like we associate 3 with Trinity or with triangles or with trifectas, right? So 3 has a certain energy. Every religious tradition has some 3.
Right. So depending on how you feel about it, 3 can feel really ick to your body. And I find that witches in general avoid 3s to pricing. They tend to be the 5s and 7s. Not exactly sure why that is.
I don't either. I like 3, but
I've learned to love 333, but I see it rarely used, and it's too bad because it would be some pretty cool energy for pricing. But what happens when you put a 7 on the end of something? So for the longest time, I saw 58 when I was going through everything, and then I realized it was like the ending, beginning. It's basically like a infinity, 5-8, 5-8. Beginnings, endings, and that was right before my dad died, and I saw it everywhere. I was like, this thing's following me. What is it trying to say? And now I see things in front of it: 3-5-8, 4-5-8, 1-5-8, and I still see 5-8, but it's picked up that other energy. So it's important to do something with those outside numbers, but that middle number is kind of the connector. So putting something in the 1-4s, that's why you don't see a lot of stuff if you want something in the 1-6-7, that makes it beginning initiation movement.
Tessa says 23, and that's one that I see a lot too. And in fact, there was that horrible, it's really too bad it was a terrible movie, but does everyone remember 23? So.
Is that the murder movie?
Yeah, with Jim Carrey, where he tried to do drama and it failed.
I love Jim. He's crazy as shit.
I know. And it's sad that the movie was bad because 23 shows up a lot. So talk about it.
So 23 is, you can look at it as 5. You can look at balancing the 3. I think 23 tends to be that angel, like that, not the angel energy, what's the Trinity energy, like in the best way. Like there's usually, and when I see Trinity, oh God, I don't know if mine is different than anybody else. I grew up Episcopalian. So for me, that's Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and Mary.
Oh yeah, you're Episcopalian. That's different from everybody else's. For everybody else, the Trinity is God the Father and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, which connects them to you. That's the Trinity.
Oh yeah, because we don't get to talk to God. So
no, right. No, Episcopalians don't talk to God. There's an intercessor, much like with Catholics, right? There's an intercessor. So yeah, you don't get to talk to God. God, you ain't worthy of God. And that's the fundamental difference, honestly, between here for your Christian history lesson between the Catholic and Anglican faiths and the Protestant movement is that the Protestant movement wanted to be able to talk to God.
I don't know what you guys were thinking, but
not me either. No, this is not.
It's funny. On a side note, the first time I went to all my friends in grade school were pastors' kids, pastors' girls, and they were wonderfully wild. But they would take me to church, and they would walk right down the center, and then they would go up on. They called it a stage. I was like, "What are you doing? You're going to burn. You're talking in church." Very different. I did love my church growing up, but when you, and that's the other thing about entities. I was going to say, but for me, I find that Mary really responds well to the 3 energy. So when you're working with Mary kind of energy, like I find that she hangs out there.
Fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
I must say, I give the Episcopalians some credit for including a woman. Not much, just a little. But
Hey, we have female priests and gay priests at this point, so I'm pretty proud. I haven't gone to a service in a long time. I kind of feel like I might burst into flames when I go in. But
when my parents divorced, my father became Episcopalian so that he could become. So I grew up in an Episcopalian church as a teenager. So yeah, I do. It's an interesting faith structure, comparatively speaking, to a lot of the others.
And that's how I feel about it. Like I dated a Pentecostal and a Mormon, and I feel like I've been like totally different. It's also, and my grandmother was Lutheran, and my mom converted to marry my dad, which was hilarious. So, okay, so
now back to the witchy shit.
Back to the witchy shit is that ultimately, like, when you can feel, the thing is when you're pricing and you're like, okay, we're talking high and low, right? Like say you're trying to figure out, is it 3 something? Is it, I'd start with the beginning. Don't start with the end, right? Start with like, is this kind of like 3, 4, or 5? And you're like, oh, 5 feels like, it feels like that. That's too high. Cause you're not going to sell it if you don't believe in it. Especially if like, I don't know, I never priced a thing in my life that's in the 6s, but for some people that's the right thing. Right? Like $67 is a popular price point. Not for me.
No. And I'll be honest, you say this and I feel like I'm repelled by these numbers in the same way. So this is valuable information, right? The numbers themselves are communicating to you, like I won't buy a 67. I'll buy a 47, even if I'm not that interested in it.
Mm-hmm.
47 for me is a magical fucking number. It is absolutely one of my all-time favorite numbers. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. Because there's actually a very geeky history behind 47 and the significance of that one. Like it was Star Trek trying to make magical significance of a number. So in The Next Generation, they deliberately dropped a 47 into each and every episode. Sometimes you hear them, sometimes you see them.
They're just trying to take 42 somewhere else. You just can't.
Well, and that's another number that I have a great deal of fondness for is 42. And not because it's significant as a number, but because it's a Douglas Adams number, and so I love it.
Right. And it is, but the thing is, whatever number what we're saying is, you see numbers repeat, you will buy for the totally nonsensical reason of, or not buy. And if you have angel heavy people, 4s might be your number. If you're selling angel stuff, sell 4 stuff. Put 4 in there somewhere. If you're selling creativity, put some 5 or some 3s. If you're selling, like there's a reason when you get up to 999. I was gonna say, I'd almost rather jump it to the 111, like the 1111. Like for something, even though I like 9s.
So the marketers would tell you 997 is the appropriate price to charge. And I've never really thought about this until we started having this conversation. But the ways in which the numerology plays into the marketing pricing is fascinating. Like 7 shows up in internet marketing, and it is because it is a number of movement, and it pulls you down the screen. Like literally, I can feel that energy being drawn down, and that's why we use it.
Yeah. What I think is interesting though is people tend to use it at the back and not at the front. $700 programs are very rare. People go from 5 to 9 pretty fast. And I think honestly that's a reason. I've seen a couple of programs for 888 and I was like, I don't know why, but there's a part of me that was like, that seems like a hell of a lot of Scorpio. And I've seen $88. Oh, I did sell one course. I sold my one and only public tarot reading card course for 8. And I sold it privately. It had a very like under the radar kind of feel to it. But for some people, 88 is a fabulous number. I'm not sure though for people with huge Scorpio energy that they're doing internet marketing. They might be doing dark web.
Right. Like that 88 seems very significantly underground to me. Like I can see it as a valid price, but I see it as a valid price on a sign in a back alley somewhere that is, with the all-seeing eye above it, right? That is not a price I see in the bright white light of an internet page.
No, but you know who does use a lot of 88 is Walmart.
Yes, they do.
They do. I just thought about that because I bought a money order. And I was like, who had 88 the other day? I was like, I never see that. But I also was like, I like it. But it is not a number that we use a lot. And I don't think people respond to it very well. Like, you might as well go up. And there is a certain purity to doing like 3 of them. Like I never go down because
Tessa says $88 for her side business, and her side business is absolutely appropriate for her side business. We'll let Tessa talk about her side business if she wants to, but yeah, that is not perfect actually for your side business. That's the right down under kind of approach that we want to be hitting there.
Speaking of strange side businesses, I do want to point out to people, anybody who's feeling like there's nothing there right now, Oregon, a couple of the strip clubs started drive-through strip clubs. It's the freakiest thing you've ever seen.
Wait, what? No. I have to hear more about this. Tell me, drive-through strip clubs.
You drive in and someone does they do their dance in front of the headlights. You have to Google it. It's awesome. Like they set up like a drive-through. It's not like a drive-through like on the side. We have bikini baristas. I don't know if the rest of the world has this. Oregon's very weird.
Oregon is weird in so many ways, man.
We have the naked bike ride. That might still happen. Like the city of Portland permits nudity one night a year where thousands of people ride their bikes through town naked. But they wear helmets.
No, but they're fucking insane. And
or some
like as a parent, I'm like, you people, my God, put some clothes on.
Well, and it's rude to stare, but I just think, how does that work? But yes, the drive-through strip club. I was like, that would be a good 88 kind of thing. Yeah.
There you go.
There's nothing really some of the stuff that's come up from this, like the go-to meeting,
oh man, go-to meeting is one of the best things I have ever seen.
It's awesome. And for those of you who don't know, it is someone has taken their farm animals and employed them as Zoom appearances for $100. It's not even cheap.
No. And I feel like they're taking that to charity. Right. But yeah, they just
But I think that's the other thing is right now we're working with an energy. If we look at we're looking into a place of innovation. Scorpio numbers might come up more because we've got some weird sideways kind of stuff going on where really bright forward stuff isn't always working.
So 2020. I know. All right. Let's lay him out here. Teal Swan. Are you a fan of Teal Swan?
Do I know who that is?
Oh, wow. You may not. Okay. Teal Swan is a YouTuber who talks a lot and has a compound down in Costa Rica. I feel like those are the two top level highlights. But Teal talks a lot about suicide, and she has been accused of being a cult leader because she talks about how suicide is like the final option, in the sense that it is the final option, right? But it's the one that you're supposed to keep in your back pocket for later and find another solution. Teal's very controversial, and she's got as much hate as she has following. If you want to read her stuff, by all means, at tealswan.com. If you want the counterpoint, the best is the Gateway podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but they do a lot of takedowns of weird gurus and shit. So they did a 6-part episode on Teal Swan. Bhagwan, she's been compared a lot to Bhagwan. And so...
Well, again, this reinforces my whole idea that people buy what they want.
Right.
They buy energy.
I can't now I forget exactly why I was bringing Teal Swan up, except for 2020. Oh, right. That she had talked about in her initial read of 2020, when she put it out at the end of last year, that this was not going to be a great year. And I've heard that from every astrologer I know. The numbers, and it's everywhere, right? So there's clearly something about the number 2. Something about 2020 has energetically been very rough for us.
Well, think about, okay, so it's a 4, right? We're looking, let's talk responsibility of the number, is that in the Emperor, in the 4, that there's a sense that I know some very unstable people who are 4, right? 4 can be a very hard life number, because, especially if you're a 2, because you're trying to create the stability of 4 always. And that means you don't have it usually. So same with this year, if you're looking at 2020 as a 2020, you're looking at like 2 null, 2 null. And we have very much a sense, in some ways, people have had the vacation that they have needed, the break from the hecticness and the reprioritization of what's important, who we care about. They're thinking about big things. On the other hand, complete zeros on some things, like completely cut off. If you think about that energy, there's 2-1-2-1 would have been like this or that, this or that. This is like rocking horse 0, rocking horse 0. It didn't look to be fun. And for me, when I was looking at this year, I had a cliff at March. I didn't do anything other than I thought March is going to be big. I thought it was going to be something else big, but it actually did start the beginning of us making way more money.
Well,
like
all
of
a sudden,
I was like, right. And I was like, okay, great. That's the month where everything's going to get really big. And I thought, oh, I'm going to have this many audiobooks. I'm going to have this. And then we just made this huge pivot to like, no, we're going to help other people make money, because this is what has to happen right now. But I felt it
really interesting. And so my word for this year, like the irony for me, and it keeps popping up significant ways for me. So my word of the year was unforgettable.
Yeah,
sure is.
Yeah,
not in the way that I expected, though. And when I look at my vision board, certainly not in the way that I had planned.
No, I definitely, I had a film planned. I had probably the most organized year of my life planned. Like I've never planned out
I
that
know, I
far,
did
and
it
I've never.
for you. I was very impressed with it. We had plans, man. Plans.
And the thing is, the root of that plan is still there. It's just expansion. It's just looking very different. And I think for a lot of people okay, so if we're working with two energy this year, having multiple things and balancing your emotion, your masculine, your feminine, your intellect, your body, getting enough exercise, getting enough rest. This is going to continue to that scale energy. I don't know that two to me feels very Libra in some ways, like not Gemini, like Libra, like scale balance feel. And that's why I'm not sure I really love 222 as a price. I'd rather do but how do you use 4 energy this year? That's kind of part of the question is, how do you build your own stability with your own foundation?
Well, at the end of the 4-month, that really is the right time to ask this question, isn't it? It's the last day of the 4th month. So as we move forward into the remainder of the year, how do you create balance? And that is, I think, honestly, where we'll leave you. It is about figuring your balance and finding it and working it in, man. And I think that for me, that has certainly, I haven't talked about it really publicly yet, but I had Corona this month and I was very, very sick. I am still recovering. And what I've had to do is create very structured work hours. And when I'm done, I'm done. It doesn't matter that there's a deadline. It doesn't matter that there's a client who is waiting for me to produce a thing. I'm done. And that's really, as a Cancer with Virgo rising and Scorpio moon, man, that's hard as shit for me. Being done is difficult. But
yeah, I never knew about the Scorpio moon.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have to get divorced now?
We do. No. Yeah, the Cancer moon makes it, like I say, I'd be brutal if I was all Sag. But yeah, for me too. Me too. I've never once cared about my health. I am not that competitive person. I've been strong most of my life. Even when I had cancer, I was just, right through it. And then now I'm finally finding like sleep, time for exercise, not working light, not a hit workout. Yeah, and that's new for me because as I increase the energetic load of expanding a business in this time and taking on more responsibility and all those things and my own fears that I have to conquer to get to a new level, all of those things, body wise, my body is the thing that breaks down.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're old now too, and
I'm so much older than you. I know, I laugh at everybody. I was like, people are like, I'm 32. I'm like, 32. What was I doing? What was I doing at 32? I certainly wasn't doing it. I don't know. I'm kind of starting to embrace 50 because my sister's turning 60. I was like, because if you take care of it now, I will live forever.
There we go. That's 2020 is about. Living forever, I guess. Well, Jesus, I can't even process that one on a global scale, right? Like, fuck.
What would that? No, I can't go there. No. So yeah, for you guys, I'd just go out there and play with those numbers of how is this, for one, notice the patterns that show up. That's the main thing, because that's something you're supposed to be seeing and witnessing and learning in the energy of right now. And you can price your stuff accordingly of everything's 58. If I had stuff, I probably would have done some 58s or done some 5s or something. I just wasn't selling anything. But see it, figure out your own, see how that's applying. Look up your tarot card. That's kind of fun because there's different ways. Like I was telling Briar, I think what started this conversation was I'm a Tower card. And if you happen to get death, don't feel bad. I have a Tower. And for me, I think it would be fun to do a whole different one on this too, but
Oh,
for the tower.
I will add it to the list, baby, because how to find your tower card and reading your individual tower cards. We should.
Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Sounds fun. Because then you can work with that energy too. Because I would say is that like for preview for next time, when you think you have one that's scary, or if that's what it's trying to show you, I have to obliterate something to start something new. Or when they obliterate, I get to start something new. Mm-hmm. It's pretty fun, actually, if you think about it. Like, oh, I don't have to do this at all like that. I can throw it all out. I don't have to keep any of this shit. Woo-hoo! Hard on relationships, but anyway, This has been a kick in the pants.
Yeah, this has been so much fun. I'm so excited to do this twice a week. Tuesday, Thursday, 11:11 Pacific Standard Time, which is 2:11 Eastern Time, which is why we went with Pacific Standard.
Are we? Yeah, and
no, it's 1:11 for me, which is how. Yeah.
2:11 works for East Coast. East Coast, I feel like, have some serious Scorpio water energy. Like we could do a whole cartography thing because I love that, the energy of the place. Like
that'd be fun.
It is fun.
That'd be fun. Yeah. All right, we have a spreadsheet for this in Notion. You will add all of these things to the board as ideas, and we'll just work them in, baby.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you, everyone. Tessa and Allie. It was so great having you guys. Talk to y'all later. Bye now.
Bye.